Hello, friends. Today's episode is brought to you by From Within Records. Visions of Morality. They're back with a new 7-inch, Path to Divinity, out now on Corruption Records and From Within Records. So please head over to the web store and grab one while supplies last. Also, Choice to Make, Wilkes-Barre's very own. They have a new record out titled Nature of Morality. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please, I highly suggest you hit pause, go boot up your Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Bandcamp, YouTube, whatever. Go stream Nature of Morality and then come back here. You can thank me later. I'm a huge fan of Choice to Make. I'm a huge fan of them working with From Within Records, two of my favorite things in hardcore. So please support the label, support Choice to Make. They're amazing. And if you're not following From Within Records on social media, please go boot up your Twitter, your Instagram, and click that follow button to stay up to date on all the current news. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. If you're looking for high quality merch for your band, for your business, please hit up my friends over at Good Fortune Printing out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing, or if you want to get in contact with them, please email them, contact@goodfortuneprinting.com. Before we get into today's guests, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're pushing really hard to get that popping. So the podcast that you're listening / watching is on YouTube. Hopefully you're on YouTube viewing it. That would be awesome. But also shout out to all the other platforms that you guys are all supporting from. It means a lot. But please head over to the YouTube, click subscribe. We have the podcast there, which is awesome. And we're uploading vlogs, doing some K-pop stuff, doing a bunch of cool interviews. So I would greatly appreciate for all of you who support me across all social medias to please support me over on YouTube. Thank you. I really appreciate it. But today, we got to track down our good friend Jonah. Some of you might know him as Fantasy Camp. Some of you might know him for playing in a band called Hot Mulligan. Or some of you might know him for playing in a band called Wild Red, a band that I have been wanting to see for a really long time. And I hope it happens before I die, because I'm such a huge fan of Wild Red. Shout out to their latest record, Jimmy. If you haven't had a chance yet, please go boot up your Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Bandcamp, YouTube. You know the drill. Go stream Jimmy. It's an awesome record, and it's cool to be a fan of Wild Red and just hear the progression sonically with each release. It's a really cool thing to be able to be a fan and then grow with them. So I'm just so in love with everything that they've done, and I am happy and proud to be able to be friends with some of those guys in that band. And I'm so thankful for Jonah for just giving me the time of day, right? Super busy on tour. He has a lot going on. So for him to always be gracious with his time, it truly means a lot to me. Not only because he's a good person, but also I'm just such a fan of his talent, right? All the bands and music projects that he's a part of, but also just where he comes from. Trust me, if you know me or anybody that knows me, I'm a huge fan of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Shout out to SWB. And to be able to have people from that area on the podcast means a lot to me, and for the respect that they give me or have given me over the years, it truly means a lot to me. So I'm such a huge fan, and it's truly an honor to be able to have anybody on from the area. And I'm just so happy to support what's going on out there. So please go support Jonah. Go support him in Wild Red while he's on tour with Hot Mulligan, Fantasy Camp. He's awesome. I love Jonah. So please, for anyone who's not familiar, I hope you do yourself a favor and get tapped in, because he does a lot of awesome things, and it's really cool to be able to call him a friend. So please strap in, enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Jonah to the show. We're recording, so welcome back to the podcast. Jonah, how's it going?
What's good, man? How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm just here trying to enjoy summer out here on the West Coast. It's a little warm today.
Yeah. I was just there. It was brutal.
Yeah, and are you back home right now?
Yeah, I got home like 4 days ago, and I'm home for about 3 weeks.
Okay, and you're out on the road with Hot Mulligan?
Yeah.
And I'm so curious about that situation, like how you know them, like your relationship with them, because I have this funny story that I would like to tell you. I've been wanting to tell you since I knew you're coming on the podcast. I used to I used to do merch I used to work for this company that did merch for a bunch of bands, and one of the bands that was on the roster was Hot Mulligan. And I remember I was at Disneyland one day. I was just hanging out in the magic shop with my buddy Johnny, who's the manager there. And these group of dudes walk in, they had tour lanyards on, and some of them were wearing hardcore shirts. So I'm like, okay, I was like, they're definitely a band. So I just went over and I was curious. So I asked them, I'm like, hey, like, well, what band are you guys in? And they're like, oh, we play in a band called Hot Mulligan. And I was tripping out. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, dude, I work for the company out here that does your guys' merch, and they were tripping out, and I was just chopping it up with them, and they were really nice. I was just like really surprised. I'm like, oh, these guys are pretty cool, because most of the time the bands that we dealt with just like wasn't interested in the music. People were always weird, but meeting them, I was like, oh, these guys are actually pretty chill. So after that interaction, I checked out their music, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh, this is actually something that I would listen to.
Nice. How long ago was that?
Oh, dude, this was like years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's sick. Yeah. I met them like fairly recently, like probably like right after the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
During the pandemic, I was like heavy on Discord a lot with this like producer group that I'm in, Garden Ave.
Okay.
And their Hot Mulligan's guitar player, Chris, he has a side project called XLHC, Extra Large Holiday Card. And he also produces, and he joined Garden Ave. So just like we would like Discord every night and play like Jackbox and like code names and shit like that. And so he like joined, and he would hang out in the Discord. And then like once stuff started happening again, he hit me up and said that they were recording in New Jersey, recording an EP. And I live in Pennsylvania, so it's pretty close. He was like, come hang out. We don't have a bass player, so like we can jam some songs. And then I just went out there for a couple days, met everybody, and we clicked. Everyone's super chill, so it was very easy. And we just hung out. And while I was there, I just mentioned, like, if you ever need somebody to play bass on tours or whatever, let me know. Because it had been a while since I had toured with like the pandemic and everything, and I was doing like all the Wicca Phase stuff before, but I knew that he hadn't planned on like touring much, at least like that year or the next year. So I was just kind of like throwing a feeler out there, and that's really the only person I ever mentioned it to, that I was like, yo, if you want someone to come on tour with you, let me know, because I don't think touring would be very fun if I like didn't know or like the people that I was with. So just kind of worked out that they were super chill. And a couple months later, they hit me up.
And how many runs have you done with them? Because it feels like it's been a while since you've been going on tour with them.
Yeah, the first one I did with them was in February of 2022. So I don't know, it's August now. So like next February will have been 2 years. We just finished our fourth full US, or like the fourth one that I've done with them. And then we also we did like a shorter UK Europe run.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're about to go back there at the end of this month.
Yeah, right. It starts at like on August 31st and it runs through September.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I watched it was like a live set from Riot Fest, and I was like, geez,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, that looked insane. Like, you know, a ton of people there.
Yeah, that was definitely the craziest show or like set I've ever played, because it just looked like you couldn't see the end of where people were. And I don't know, coming from like where I come from in music, I'm just like never experienced anything like that.
Yeah, is there like an adjustment period because you're playing to these different types of crowds?
I mean, definitely at first, like the first tour that I did with them, I didn't really know how to like I didn't have much like stage like performance, like just didn't really know what to do, and I was definitely tripped out on like the amount of people there. Plus, I was like playing all the songs for the first time, so
mm-hmm.
I would say that tour, it kind of like that one, I was kind of not like on my shit. And then I was like seeing videos from it and I was like, damn, I look lame. I got to figure this out.
Yeah, you got to get a little more comfortable up there. But it's cool because you've been doing it for a while. And was there a point where you realized like, okay, like this is going to be a thing. I'm going to be on the road a lot more?
Not really. I mean, like, the understanding at first was that I was just going to do the one tour,
mm-hmm.
and then they invited me on the next one, and then I was like, all right, that's the last one. And then after that, they just kept bringing me, and now I'm like doing the whole year with them. So
okay, that's awesome.
Didn't really know like how long it was going to last or anything like that, but it seems to have worked out.
Yeah, for sure. No, it seems like you have a good thing going there, because you know, that band, they have a pretty solid fan base, just looking at their stats on Spotify, and especially just how active they are. So for them to be able to be on the road so much and to be traveling to so many different places, playing different festivals, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's super sick, and I'm super grateful, and I just they're all super cool dudes, and the shows are fun, the music's cool, so can't complain.
Okay. And when you do these like international tours, like we just mentioned, you're heading back overseas, do you do anything special to prepare for that, or are you like already super used to that?
Not really. I had never I'd been to the UK once before the one we did in April.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just for like writing sessions. So it was my first time like touring there properly. The only thing that I would say I did differently is like someone warned me that it's really hard to do laundry while you're on tour in the UK or Europe in general. Like in the US, like a lot of venues will have a washer and a dryer for you to use. And then you also have more off days, so you can do it at a hotel if you need to. But that's just not really the case over there for whatever reason. So I think when we went there last time, we were there for 17 or 18 days maybe, and I brought 17 shirts and pairs of underwear and socks because I was just planning on not being able to do laundry, and I didn't. So
okay, so you planned properly.
Yeah, that's like the only real difference I can think of. Okay, as far as like planning.
And I'm curious, I see when I watch these videos, when you're on stage, you have in-ears.
Yeah.
Which is like, to me, it's like, okay, he's getting pretty professional with it. I'm curious, what do you have going into your in-ears?
So they were using those before I started playing with them, and I had never used them before. But basically, you just hear like there's a app on your phone that connects to the sound, and you just hear like a perfect mix of what's being played as if you're playing it in a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And you can change all the levels. So like you can change how loud the guitar is, how loud, like anything that has a mic. So like the drum set has like 10 different ones, like overhead, snare, kick, all this different stuff. So you can kind of just like tailor it to exactly how you want it. Like I put the drums really high and my bass really high, so I can like make sure I'm playing the right thing, and then vocals. But yeah, you just hear that, and then you hear a click track that just helps you like keep time.
Yeah. And do you even care to hear like, what's going on in the room outside of like your in-ears? Because that's something that I'm curious about, because I've never performed with in-ears.
It's really tough to like there's not even really an option that lets you hear the crowd, because there's no mic that goes out into the crowd. I mean, maybe some bands do that, but we don't have one that like is just like crowd sound. So anytime there's like a part where I like really want to hear the crowd, I'll just like pull one of them out. You get a little bleed through just from like the microphone, but yeah, you don't really hear anything once you have those in.
And are yours like super custom, where you have like a little like design in them and like custom fit to your ears or anything?
Nope, they're just the ones that you can buy at Guitar Center.
Okay, for sure. Yeah,
we got like custom molds taken last summer, but and they were so expensive. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I seem to notice like these days a lot of gamers are they're starting to switch to in-ears, like versus like normal like over the ear headphones or just normal earbuds.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why you would need that for gaming, other than like it messes up your hair maybe. But that's cool.
Okay. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy to see you so busy and being able to travel and doing cool stuff with Hot Mulligan, because like I said, when I watched that Riot Fest video, I was like super stoked and like kind of blown away at how how many people were there. It was crazy. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been super fun, and planning on doing it as long as they are asking me to. Okay. But you also sing for a band called Wild Red, which I'm a huge fan of. And I've still yet to see you guys live, which I'm just like super bummed at. Like anytime I see you guys on a flyer or whenever I travel to your area, I'm just like, man, where the hell's Wild Red? Like I'm always like like 9 times out of 10 I'm out there for a show, and so you guys are never on it, which is totally fine. But I'm just so happy that you guys still manage to stay relevant and continue to put out music, especially with you being so busy and having other projects as well. So can you talk about how you're able to do that and what Wild Red like means to you? Yeah, I mean, so we might have touched on it like the last time I was on here, but Wild Red kind of started as like a pandemic project for me. Like I just wanted to do some stuff that was like different from my solo work. Or really, I mean, I was just making songs, but then I thought like it didn't make sense to put it out as like a fantasy camp release. So I just put it out as Wild Red. And then it's kind of just evolved into like a real band. Like for a while there were no other members, so like I found some people to play shows. Now we have like a real group of people that are like the band. And then honestly, like with this new stuff, I didn't really have like a lot of time to like write. So pretty much everything before this new EP, other than like one song on Brain Squeeze, everything was written by me. And then all these new songs are written by Pat, at least like musically. He like demoed everything out. He demoed out like an album's worth of stuff. And then I just kind of picked like my favorite ones, wrote to them, and then we recorded here in January, I think. And Ryan from Hot Mulligan like recorded it. He flew out here and we did half of it in my living room, and then we did the drums and the vocals at a studio in New Jersey. Okay. That's awesome. And I'm a huge fan of the new EP, but I want to take a step back and ask about there was that promo in 2022. Oh, right. Yeah. And, I was wondering, I was like, oh, is that going to lead into like a full length or something else? But, and now with Jimmy being out, I noticed that like none of those songs were there on the EP. Was there a reason for that? No, I think it was just like I had those 3 songs that were on the promo like demoed out,
and I wanted to just put them out there because I knew that last year was super busy for me. So I just wanted to put something out to be like, this is still a thing. We're still like writing, and we're gonna write more. Those 3 songs just came together super quick, and then we recorded them with Jake Clark, who recorded Brain Squeeze as well.
Shout out Jake Clark.
Yeah, shout out Jake. We did that all in one day in Philly, and I think those songs are cool. We play them we play 1 or 2 of them in like every set. And I think they're fun. But I think like if we ever were able to do an LP, I think one of those songs would like make it on there, and maybe even like a song from the demo or something.
You'd revisit it and get to re-record them.
Yeah, but with Jimmy, the only reason we didn't do that, like take any of those songs and like re-record them, was because we had like a super limited amount of time that Ryan was going to be here. So we were just like, realistically, what is the most amount of songs we can record in this like 5-day period? And we just arrived at 4 tracks, and I was like, well, I'd rather put out 4 new ones than like re-record one that people have already heard.
For sure. And can you talk about Jimmy, like where that name comes from?
Honestly, like we had a couple different names for the project, and someone in our group chat just like jokingly said, call it James. And then either I or someone else said Jimmy. And then I was like, that's actually kind of cool. Because like there's like that Sam I Am record, Billy. And I don't know, I just think it's cool, like just having like a name as like your title. Doesn't really mean anything, like it has no connection to the songs. We retroactively like renamed the first track on the EP Jimmy. It was called Angus because of someone posted Brain Squeeze on Reddit, and one of the comments said that it sounds like the Angus soundtrack.
Reddit's insane. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that might have been a diss, but I think the Angus soundtrack is great.
I've never even listened to it or even seen the movie, so now I'm curious.
It's just like a 90s comedy. Like it's got like Green Day, the Goo Goo Dolls. There's a bunch of like, it's just like 90s like pop rock.
Okay. No,
which is kind of like what we're going for anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say that makes sense. I wouldn't take that as a diss.
Yeah.
And just following you guys on Instagram, there was that clip from some sort of like news broadcast, the PA Live.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
So Pat, our guitar player, he like works in news. Like behind the scenes. He's not like an anchor or anything.
Okay.
But I don't think he like asked them to say that, but like probably just through like working with these people, he like showed them, and then they just did that.
That's okay. See, now that makes so much sense. I'm like, wow, that's so insane that these people are talking about Jimmy. Yeah,
it's very random. I had someone like message me, and they're like, "Did you pay them to do this?" I'm like, why the fuck would I pay someone to, like?
Yeah. Oh wait, so that was on the air.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's like funny to post as a clip, but like it's not worth paying somebody to like say that on the local news. Like the amount of people that checked it out after that is probably not very significant.
Yeah, because I'm curious, because that's like the local news in your area.
Yeah, in Wilkes-Barre.
Okay, yeah, because I'm always surprised when I'm there and I'm driving through or I'm not driving, I'm like riding through the city with whoever's driving me, and I look around and I'm just like, doesn't seem like a lot of these people know that there's like this awesome music scene going on.
No, I mean they definitely don't. They probably wouldn't care if they did know. So, I mean, it's just like the most like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people who live here are like focused on other things, and there's like a lot of older people that live here, so it's not like it's really only like the young crowd that gets involved in the music scene.
But still, you got to think like over the years, and even to this day, like there's still cool music going on with like what you're doing with Wild Red, even with Fantasy Camp and with Wicca Phase, Choice to Make, Warren just put out a new record. So
One step closer.
Yeah, one step closer.
Yeah,
they're in their bag, getting bigger with every tour that they're doing. So
yeah, it's sick, and it's super inspiring, and it's like the reason I live here still is just because there's like cool shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
Despite like whatever the surroundings are, like people have always found a way to have shows, and pretty much like all of my friends here are just like music people, and like where I grew up and like went to high school, that didn't exist. So
yeah, and I think it's amazing too, because just even with things like with what Caleb's doing, right? He has that skate jam coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. He's got a skate shop in Scranton,
mm-hmm.
and they just opened a skate park in Wilkes-Barre. It's like 5 minutes from where I'm at, and I believe the show is there, and that's going to be sick. I'm leaving for Europe the day after,
mm-hmm.
but like I got to show out,
for sure.
Lineup.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too to be able to put something on like that, because I know the what was that one venue that closed down last year or a couple years ago? Carl Hall, right? Hall. Yeah, and then I know after that it's been tough to find another spot for shows.
Yeah, there hasn't been like a straight up venue since then. There's still not, but we've been having shows. Like some people have been doing house shows. People have been doing shows in the woods, like way out there.
The woods.
People have been doing shows at this coffee shop, Curry Donuts.
I've seen videos of that.
Yeah, those are cool, especially like during the summer. You can do them outside, like in the back parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And those are super fun. But obviously, like in the winter, that's not feasible.
Yeah, because it gets really cold out there.
Yeah.
Like crazy cold.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be outside for more than like 20 minutes in the winter.
Yeah. Who's agreeing to play in the woods? I'm so intrigued by that.
So I think they've all been pretty much set up by Seba, who plays in the Virgos.
Okay.
And they're just like a really sick, like I don't know how I describe it other than it's like groovy, kind of slow, like metal. But Seba played in a bunch of like sick ass hardcore bands. He rips on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like very guitar heavy. Like when you go see them, like the amps are super loud. But yeah, he's just been setting up these shows like 30, 40 minutes outside of the city. Like he'll just drop the coordinates and that's how you find it. And
that's wild.
People go, it's a good time. I missed the last one because I had like just gotten home from tour and I was just dead.
Mm-hmm.
But they're sick.
And I am curious with Jimmy now being out, and obviously you have to balance with all the other stuff you have going on. Is there a chance that you do more shows with Wild Red, or is this I'm gonna have to wait a little bit longer?
No, for sure. We have like a small run planned for October.
Okay.
It'll definitely be all East Coast. Sorry, but
it's all right.
Yeah, I think it's like 4 shows, and it's with another band. I don't want to give too much away. I'm sure it'll be announced soon, but yeah, we got just like a small run in October because that's really the only month for the rest of the year that I'll be home. So we're doing that, and then I don't know what next year holds. So I guess we'll just have to see and figure it out once it comes along.
And you just mentioned you have this run planned. Is there a point where you maybe want to actually carve out some time to where you can actually write and record a record without having such a time crunch?
It just depends. Like Pat has been sending more ideas and just like writing stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we got to a point where we had like 10 songs that we were really stoked on, I would definitely like figure it out and make it happen. I'm also like, I don't think like every year will be this busy as like this year is,
mm-hmm.
As far as like my touring stuff. So it just depends on like everything coming together, but it's definitely not out of the question.
Okay, because I feel like there's, you know, for the style of music that Wild Red is, I feel like there's like a, you know, like a fan base for that. There's a lot of people who love bands that are in like the similar vein. So when I watch these other bands have like so much success, I'm like, man, I hope Wild Red gets there one day whenever they choose to, you know, do more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really is like, just like a lack of like being able to play a lot of shows, and like also like this new stuff was kind of like a sound change from the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like more people are interested now than like before, I guess. So it's like, it's tough because you don't want to like go out and do a DIY tour when like you don't know if anyone is going to show up. Like we can do shows in like Philly and New York, and you know, like East Coast stuff. I feel pretty good about that as long as there's like other like similar bands on the bill. But I just don't know like if we tried to like go across the country and like play in the Midwest somewhere, if anyone would give a shit.
Just come out to the West Coast. There's a, you know, my friends playing in your band that have a lot of love, so just pair you up with them and things will be fine.
Would be sick. Would be sick.
Yeah, no, but I get it because DIY tours. I have some friends who have done those. I'm sure you have too. But just to you know, hear about the financial loss, and also you're not trying to get rich off of this stuff, but you know, best scenario probably break even. But sometimes it's easier when you're probably a bit younger, less responsibilities. So I can definitely get not wanting to do that. You know, with it being so unknown.
Right. Yeah. It's purely a passion project at the current state of it. And like the other touring that I do is like, you know, what helps me like how I survive now. So like I can't like cut that off and then go do a tour where I'm going to lose money or like you said, break even.
Yeah,
it's tough
for sure. I get it, but it's been a fun ride. Like I said, I'm such a fan of Wild Red, so to be able to you know, be there you know, for every release and kind of watch you guys like gradually grow, it's been fun for me. So I'm you know, long time and dedicated fan, so I'll be there you know, for the ride.
I appreciate that.
Okay, well, I'm you know, like I said, stoked on the EP. I like the, you know, sound change. You know, it's not drastic, but if you compare the records, it's there. But I think it's fine. But with Hot Mulligan, with Wild Red, where do you find time for fantasy camp?
I mean, I have like I'll have a month or so like in between tours. Usually this like rest of the year is a little bit shorter, but I'll usually have like a decent period of time where I'm just like at home. And so like when I'm at home, the only thing I do is like hang out with my girlfriend and my cats and go to the gym. So like I have like all these days just like full of time to write stuff. So I have a bunch of like fantasy camp stuff that I need to release. I just need to like polish it up, put it in a package and get it done. But like I have a bunch of new songs that are pretty much ready to go.
And do you only work on it like when you're at home, or do you ever try to find time to do it while you're on tour? Is that even a possibility?
Nah, I mean, I used to bring my laptop on tours and stuff and like try to work on stuff, but it's just like difficult because there's so many people like around like hanging out, and I was just like using my AirPods and they don't sound as good. It's like, I don't know, it's very difficult for me to like work on stuff when I'm not in this room. So I just like the last tour, I didn't even bring my laptop.
For sure. No, I definitely get how it is, because like when I'm like editing or if I'm playing like a video game, there has to be like a certain mood. Like if there's like one little distraction, I don't want to do it because it's just like something just doesn't feel right, and I'll feel like I'm not like giving it like my all, and I'll just I feel like I won't be able to produce the same like quality of like, you know, product if I'm not in like the right setting mentally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of nice even because like taking that break where, you know, I'm not working on stuff for a month. When I come back, like I have a bunch of ideas that I'm not burnt out on. Like I used to try to write stuff every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that can be detrimental.
Yeah, I feel like you
Where
gotta,
you at?
yeah, you just gotta, with everything, you just gotta find just like that right balance, because you don't want to, be doing stuff like, and like get overloaded and kind of, not enjoy it, where it becomes like where it feels like a chore and not fun anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But I want to ask you about your latest release. You did like a live recording of Casual Intimacy. Can you talk
Yeah,
about how that all came together?
that was so like the album itself came out on Will's label Memory Music, and they just have like a series of live albums that they do like for most of their releases. So once we had like finished everything for that album to come out, he just asked me if I would be interested in doing that. And Studio 4 is super legendary, so obviously I was like, fuck yeah. Um, and then pretty much as soon as I got back from doing Sad Summer Fest last year, um, I think like the next day I went to Studio 4, and I had my friend Mike play guitar. We used to play in bands together. And then Will got someone to do drums because I didn't have anyone that I could like just last minute be like, yo, can you learn all these songs?
Mm-hmm.
But so we just kind of like met up there and everyone killed it. It was super fun.
And was there like a period where you had to like rehearse, or did everybody learn everything on their own time?
Yeah, because like I was gone like up until the day that we had to do it. Everyone just kind of had to like learn it by themselves. And then we like for each song we would just like jam it once through.
Mm-hmm.
And then if everyone felt good, we'd hit record.
And looking back at it now, how do you feel about it? Because I think it's cool to be able to hear it in that kind of setting. Because I obviously like the album, but to be able to hear like a live version of it, I think that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean it's sick. I think if I do more like fantasy camp shows in the future, that's like the way I would like to do it. Full band, just because the record is like samples and stuff, but I think it really benefits from having people playing the instruments.
100%. I'm a huge fan of this group called Twice, and
Mm-hmm.
It's like K-pop, very poppy stuff. But there was one section of their concert, and when I saw them on their last tour, they did like a medley of like 4 or 5 of their hits, because with each tour they have more music, so they can't play the same set list, so your song had to get cut out. So I guess they came up with like, okay, look, we have to squeeze in these bangers. So they did like a medley of all their hits, but they did it with like a live band, and it was cool because they would play and it would take me like like a couple seconds to recognize, okay, like which hit is this. But then once it clicked, I'm like, okay, this sounds like super awesome, because obviously I'm used to being in a setting, right, where there's people playing instruments live. So to be able to hear that at that K-pop concert, I thought, I was like, wow, this sounds way cooler.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I mean it's just a different experience overall. Like it's obviously cool to hear a song the way you're used to hearing it, but I love like hearing different takes on stuff when you're in a live setting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Casual Intimacy came out last year, and you just did the live album. Can we expect any new music this year, or are you going to wait till 2024 to try to put out something new?
I think I'm gonna like while I'm home for these like next couple of weeks, I think I'm gonna like work on putting in all these songs that I have, or like that I mentioned before, like putting them together in a way that makes sense, because I have like too many for an album. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just gonna pick the ones that work best, and then figure out what to call it, get some artwork done, and just put it out. Because that's like the way that I did Long Way Home, was I just decided one day that I wanted the songs to be out, upload it to DistroKid, and then it's done. And that's like the top performing song that I have is on that project. And it was all like, I didn't get it mixed. I recorded it myself. There's no like marketing to be done for it. So I think I need to just stop like focusing so much on like trying to do everything professionally and just put stuff out. So that's probably what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And because you're not doing anything through a label with Fantasy Camp, right? It's all DIY.
Well, so Casual Intimacy was with Memory Music, which is Will Yip's label. And I think if I asked, like, we would probably do it through them, but then, you know, it just, when you do stuff through a label, it takes longer, and they want to do like a rollout and stuff. And I think it would be cooler to just like have all these songs that I think like the demos sound good. So I'll just put it out as kind of like, rather than an official album, it's more like a mixtape. So, yeah.
For sure. And you mentioned, you know, what your most popular song is off of Long Way Home. And were you surprised that Bug Bite, you know, became so popular?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that like when I recorded it, like I knew it was the best song on the project. Obviously, like that's why I made a video for it and stuff. But when I put that whole project, I was like super unsure of at least like how my fan base would react to it, because that was like my first departure from making like primarily like trap influenced stuff or like emo rap. So I was definitely surprised to see like how well it went over. But I knew that was like my favorite song, so I was hoping that would do the best.
Yeah, and it's performing really well when I, you know, look at your Spotify, and that's just Spotify. So, you know, obviously there's like other places people listen to it. So it's just like, yeah, like that song is huge.
Yeah, I mean, Spotify is the main one. That's like the main metric that people look at. But yeah, it also helped that I had like a music video for it, and my friend Astari like uploaded it, and he's just like a YouTube channel that hosts music videos for people. And he has like a bunch of subscribers. So like, I think a lot of people like found out about me that way for the first time.
That's awesome. So shout out to, you know, your friend for helping out that way, because I think it's awesome when bands or artists do music videos, because I'm such a fan, because that's how I consumed music growing up, right? Before like all the streaming services, I was, you know, at home watching MTV, VH1, BET, and the music video was so important. But I feel like over time, with the internet, music videos just became less important. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like people still watch them. Like if you look at like the biggest rappers and pop stars, their videos have tons of views. So like there definitely is still a market for it, but it has kind of gone by the wayside, like as far as how important it is.
Yeah,
it helps though.
No, 100%. I urge every band. It's like, yo, like, you know, just do at least one. And I get it. It can be pricey, but also with technology, you can do it with an iPhone, right? Right. It doesn't have to be 8K, 60 frames, 120 frames, whatever. I feel like it's so accessible to do a music video these days that I feel like more people should.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you have an iPhone or even just like a shitty old camera, it's pretty easy to just like, you could film it yourself, edit yourself, upload it. It's just hard. Like the hardest part is like getting people to watch it or like click the link, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's the thing, is you got to find a way to get people interested. And I understand that's where a rollout can be important, right? Because you want to try to build it up properly to kind of build that anticipation and make people aware. So I can understand why labels want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is fun too when I wake up and it's like, oh, hey, I didn't know this band or this artist, whatever that I listen to, put out new music. So it's sometimes when people pop up with new music out of nowhere, it's a nice surprise.
Yeah, and it's always nice to have a visual, and like even like when I find a new artist, I like want to see what they look like, what their vibe is, like see if it matches with the music or not. I don't know. I just feel like that adds like a whole nother layer to it.
Yeah, there's this there's this rapper that I've been listening to. His name is Babyface E, and I've only been listening to him on Spotify. And I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and I was like, man, I wonder if he has any music videos, which, he's a pretty popular rapper, so he definitely does. But I was just very surprised because in my mind, I just had like a blank slate. I didn't know what he looked like, where he was from. But when I went to YouTube and I searched him up, I'm like, okay, so now I can finally put a face to, the voice and to all these like, songs that I've been listening to, which is, pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done the same, like just listen to a guy for like a month, and I'll like create an image in my mind of what I think they look like, and I'm like, oh, I should just like look up a video and see what they actually look like.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you have all these songs and you just got to kind of try to put them together. What's that process like? Because I'm so curious, like when you're at that point in the process of trying to put a body of work together, are all these songs recorded with like a certain theme, or are these just like songs recorded at all different times and different instances?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like a collection of every song that I've like finished or completed since I put out the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I do like every project. But just to avoid getting stale, like I'm not going to make the same style of song every time I like sit down and try to record something. So there's going to be stuff that like maybe doesn't fit or would be better as like a single or something. So I try to just like, once I have a batch of songs, I try to be like, all right, these ones make the most sense to put together, and maybe this one should stay unreleased or like be a single later or something.
And do you have like a vault of all of songs that never got released, or like?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because for me, I'll film a bunch of stuff, do things, and I'm so unattached. I'll just delete stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where I like go back and I like play something. I'm like, that shit's trash, and I just delete it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, like if I finish a song, I at least kind of like it. So I'll keep it and see if like, if I have like a month or two of time where I'm like, oh, I haven't put anything out in a while, I'll just drop a single.
Okay. And as far as doing live shows with Fantasy Camp, is that going to be a thing? Because obviously, like I know we always talked about your upcoming schedules. You're going to be really busy. Do you ever, be like, all right, I want to try to squeeze in at least one before the year's end?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just like, it's two things. It's like being available, but then also like, in order for the show to happen, like I pretty much have to get offered to play the show. So like, if a cool circumstance came up and like I was able to do it, then I'm down. Like I'm not opposed to playing shows, but I don't book shows. I don't have a booking agent. So like it kind of takes somebody to hit me up and be like, yo, you want to play the show? And then if it's local, then like the chances of me being able to do it are like way higher. But if it's somewhere else, then like I got to figure out flights and all that. So it's, I don't know. If the right opportunity came up, I definitely would. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I don't really know where I belong in terms of like genre and like what kind of shows I should be playing. So that makes it difficult.
100%. Yeah. Cause I'm trying to think too. Cause, you mentioned earlier how you came out, a little different bit of a sound, and would you want to play on those same kind of shows that you used to play on, or would you want to go in a different direction?
I mean, I feel like I could play like the old style of shows, because I don't know, I just think like that scene of people is like much more accepting of different sounds, and like they're down for anything pretty much. But I feel like it's harder to break through into the sound that I'm like currently playing, like that scene of bands and stuff. because it's long established, and like there's, you know, everyone knows each other in the same way that like everyone in hardcore knows each other and helps each other out.
No, 100%. Yeah, because I'll go see a band and I'm like, I know that this band has it, right? They're so early on in their career, but I can just tell by like just the way that they have these like songs written for their demo, and I'm like, okay, like they know what they're doing. And I'm trying to tell everybody like, hey, like this band, like book this band, go listen to this band. But then obviously it takes a while, right? Because people for whatever reason don't always like find things at the same time, but which is totally understandable. And then like I'm just now seeing this band like finally leaving California and getting so much love elsewhere, but it's like, dude, they've been this good the whole time.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens. Like, I don't know what it is, if it's just like if it's luck, or like obviously you have to have the songs, that's the first thing. Like, but there's plenty of bands who have great songs that don't make it out, so it's hard to tell what that is.
Yeah. And do you like on like the downtime, do you actively try to like make connections to try to get into that scene? Because when you look at your last two releases, obviously people are listening. There's a fan base for it, so I'm surprised that people aren't reaching out more.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more like that style of music, I think, is a lot more like industry based, and like a lot of the work is done through booking agents and stuff like that. So I really wouldn't even know where to start, because like with hardcore, you just go to shows and then you meet people, and then if you start a band, if you've been active in your scene and supporting, someone's going to put your band on a show. But it's kind of like one of the only scenes that's like that. So I don't know. I'm not really like at this point, I'm not super set on trying to make like fantasy camp stuff my career. I kind of more so just do it because I love making music, and if people respond to it, that's dope, but I'm not like banking on it.
Okay. So you're not calling Willie up and being like, yo, what's up? We need to get on stage.
I mean, he has hit me up and like said that that's something he could help me with for sure. But it's just like now with everything just kind of happened all at the same time. And it's like now with like all the tours that I'm doing, it's like, I don't know when I would even have time. It would be in the 1 or 2 months that I'm home for the year.
And
another one.
And I'm curious, if you could pick, do you like the setting of playing in a band like Hot Mulligan, Wild Red, or would you like to go more industry and deal with the booking agents and do your solo thing as Fantasy Camp?
For me, like doing shows as Fantasy Camp is way more anxiety inducing and like scary. And it's like, I would say it's because I'm singing, but like I sing in Wild Red and I'm never like nervous about doing those shows. So it's just something different. I feel like when you're not playing in a rock band, mostly everyone is just staring at you in the crowd, and that feels like really weird. And it's not like on the crowd, like that is, I guess, an appropriate response to like slow, chilled out music. But like when you're playing in a band and you like see people giving you energy, it makes you feel like way better about the performance. So I don't know, it's tough. There's benefits to both, but I think I have more fun doing the band shows.
I want to ask you about Sad Summer, because I'm just such a fan of Taking Back Sunday, and to be on a cool tour like that. Can you talk about what your experience was like and maybe some of your favorite moments?
Yeah. So this was like my second time doing Sad Summer with them. It's just like, it's kind of like Warped Tour. If you've ever been to a Warped Tour show, it's every show is, for the most part, unless it's too hot, every show is outside. This year it was in amphitheaters, so it was like, that was completely new to me. Just like seeing most of the people that are there like in seats is strange. But yeah, it was super cool. There's just like a ton of bands on it. Everyone hangs out. Like you just set up a tent like outside of your bus, and I don't know. It's just like a whole month of just chilling, and then you play for 30 to 35 minutes, and then you're done. And that's like your whole day.
Yeah, I find it interesting to see like people try to fill that void of Warped Tour, because that was like the thing to do in the summer, right? For like that kind of music, there was always so many bands doing the Vans Warped Tour, and it was so iconic. So for it to go away and to see different fests pop up, and things like Sad Summer pop up, I think are pretty cool. And I've been to one show like that. It was like the Ghost Inside, the Used, and a Day to Remember. It was like they were doing like a tour, so they were the headliners. And I remember I really wanted to see this band, Magnolia Park, which my buddy who I went with always gives me crap for. They're like the one band I really wanted to see.
They were on it last year.
Okay, and like the shows, like I was at like the salon getting my hair done, and my buddy like hit me, like, yo, like you want to go to this thing? I'm like, hell yeah, like I want to see Magnolia Park. So I finished up, and then we went, and I didn't realize that it was starting at like 5 o'clock. So we got there at like 6, and like the second band was like in the middle of their set, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this shit starting so early? But just to be there, because this happened in Irvine at like the 5 Points, I think that's what it's called, 5 Points Amphitheater. And this was my first.
That's where we just played.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, it was the last day of the tour.
Yeah, so to go there and to experience that, because there was like a bunch of like food trucks and people just like hanging out, and then you could go into the amphitheater, and that's where the show was happening. I'm like, oh, this is like definitely like a cool vibe. I can see the appeal for it, and obviously there like the lineup was great, a lot of big bands, and it was a pretty interesting experience.
Yeah, it's fun. It definitely has like its perks, and like playing outside is fun, even though it's super hot. But it just like, I think because of that, like being outside all day, it just like wears you out faster than a normal tour would. Mm-hmm. Just because you're just being in the sun all day just like takes it out of you, and then you just got to do that like 4 days in a row, and then you get a break. But it's just like I don't know, by the end of it you're like, all right, I've done enough of playing outside. I'm ready to play some club shows.
And I'm curious, for you, are you just like anticipating your set for the whole day, then you can relax, or like what's your mindset for like the whole day, like in those kinds of situations?
I'm pretty good, especially if I'm like just playing an instrument. Like I'm pretty good with stage fright. Like I don't really stress it too much. Mm-hmm. Generally, like we would have to pull up to those shows at like 8 a.m. for like merch to get set up, and like everything, like gear to get loaded. I would usually like sleep in pretty late, and then you wake up, they have like catering, so you go get lunch, and then you kind of just chill. Like I don't know, a lot of people like for the first half of the day will just like hang out like inside, either like in a green room or like the bus, because it's so hot. And then we would play like around 5 every day. Mm-hmm. And after that I would like shower, and then I would hang out, because the sun would be coming down, so it wouldn't be as brutal. But like the shows in Texas were like both over, I think it was like 105, and then California, I don't know exactly what it was, but that was also very hot. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, especially because those shows were right at the end, it's just like I gotta preserve my energy and stay inside until I have to play.
And are you like trying to like mingle after you're done, or do you like to have your alone time? Because for me, yeah. I feel like it would be, I would like enjoy it, but then also I feel like I would have to at least have some time to myself, or I would go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, alone time doesn't really exist when you're touring with like 9 other people, like just in your group alone. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of out the window. I'm a pretty social person, so definitely like earlier in the day I'll keep to myself or just like my group of people that I'm with more. But then like by the end of it, I'll be more social, talking to whoever's around.
And when you're on these kinds of tours, do you ever get those like the Wild Red fans or the Fantasy Camp fans that recognize you?
Yeah, sometimes. It's not like every day, but there's definitely been some people that have like pulled up in the merch or just like hit me up like, yo, I just came because I wanted to see you. So like I'll always like make a point to chill with them for a second.
Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty cool to know that they're like, supporting you across all like, projects that you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's super cool, and it's not like it doesn't go unnoticed for sure.
Okay. And I liked when you had the red bass. Is that out the window or?
Yeah, so that wasn't even my bass. That was I believe that's Chris's bass that I was just using because like the one that I have behind me right now is a Squire, which is fine. But like that red one is just a Fender P bass. And then Hot Mulligan has a deal with Reverend Guitars. And so they got me like my own bass that I just got on like the first day of this last tour. So that's like mainly what I'm playing now.
Okay. And did you get to pick it out? Like, did you let them know like, hey, this is like what I prefer?
Yeah. They had a couple different colors. I like precision basses, like in general, the most. So I just looked at their model of that and just picked a color.
Awesome. That's cool for them to have that deal and for you to be able to get your own bass from it. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, that was a super cool moment for me.
Okay. And where's that bass?
Actually, right now it's in Chicago because that's like where we meet up to practice before tours. And then like because we're going to Europe so shortly, it just made the most sense for all the gear to go there instead of everyone taking their stuff home individually.
For sure. That's wild. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm so happy for you to be able to be so busy with Hot Mulligan. I think the music they make is awesome. I definitely like what they're doing. A fan of that. But I'm just a fan of your area. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of like a ton of the music that's come out there. That's why I always try to make it a point to go out there at least once a year to visit and hang out with Nate Prosciutti, see Shane, and everybody else that I can, Jeff Davis. But for people who are listening, and they were curious about where you come from, your music scene was like, what's like one positive thing you would say about that to get them interested and to check all of the bands out from your area?
It's just a very cool, welcoming scene. Everyone is embraced. Doesn't matter like what you look like, if you're cool or not, you can, just come to a show. Everyone's gonna fuck with you. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of unique music that comes from the area. Like it's not like one specific sound. There's lots of different stuff going on. So whether you're into heavy stuff or youth crew or alternative, like there's a band for you. And if you come to a show, you're gonna have a good time. No one's gonna judge you or be weird.
100%. I can attest to that because I've shown up, and obviously I'm not from the area. I'm only friends with a couple of people out there. So to be able to kind of just roll in and show up to a show, it felt like I was at home. Everybody was chill. The bands were cool, and it was definitely a great time. That's why I always want to go back.
Yeah, it's a sick place. I love living here and going to shows here. Recommend anyone to come check it out if there's something that interests you.
Okay.
And there's good pizza.
Oh, the pizza. Okay. I don't have I ever asked you, and obviously there's not that big of a difference, but Jerry's or Angelo's?
I go with Jerry's.
Okay. Same here.
I think they taste like pretty much the same. but I like the service more at Jerry's.
Yeah.
And there's like a bigger area to sit down.
Yes. Like there's a point where I was eating Angelo's because it's right there by Good Fortune. And you know, I don't want to inconvenience anybody too much to be like, hey, can you take me to Jerry's instead? Because you know, Angelo's is right there. But the last couple times I was there, I was like, yo, like, let's go to Jerry's. So I kind of found the Jerry's people and been like, hey, like, you want to get dinner? And yeah, going to Jerry's, cool place. Everybody's there is nice. I was bummed last time I was there. I was trying to buy some merch, but they didn't have any in my size. But maybe hopefully next time, hopefully they'll restock. Or maybe I can point them.
Hit up Good Fortune.
Exactly. That's where I was at. I was like, yo, if you guys need some merch, I have some friends over at Good Fortune Printing. They'll help you out.
Yeah, that would be dope. Okay.
Well, Jonah, I truly appreciate your time. I always appreciate you being down to support what I'm doing. So I appreciate you, you know, taking your time out of your day to do this. But before we go, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, just check out Jimmy, the new EP by Wild Red. Check out Choice to Make. They got some new stuff coming out soon. Warren, they got new stuff coming out soon. One Step Closer. Everybody's killing it.
100%. All right.
Virgos.
The Virgos. We got to get out to the woods.
Definitely check out the Virgos. They got some stuff on Spotify right now, but I believe they have more coming soon.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, thank you for your time, Jonah. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back soon. Goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.